All right, so today we're going to be tackling some IELTS prep.
Ooh, fun.
Yeah, you know, that big scary exam.
Yeah.
If you're aiming for a band 8 or higher on the speaking test, that's seriously impressive.
It's a big one.
It's not just like you can speak English. It's about, can you dive into these complex topics and can you sound smart and nuanced and all that good stuff.
It's like the linguistic Olympics.
Ooh, I like that. That's a good one.
You got to be in top form.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So to get us into shape today, we are using this guide, IELTS Speaking Topics for Band 80 Plus, Advanced Tips and Examples.
Catchy title.
Yeah, and it's really cool because it breaks down these 5 common topics that the examiners just love to throw at you, and it has some really awesome sample answers so you can see what they're actually looking for.
It's interesting, that they choose these topics. It's not just random. They really want to test. Can you think critically? Can you get your ideas out there clearly? And can you just, have a good conversation?
Yeah, so it's life skills as well as
exactly.
exam skills.
These are things you need day to day.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So let's jump into topic number 1, technology and social media.
Okay.
It's everywhere, right?
Yeah.
But how do we talk about it in a way that screams Band 8 plus a line?
Well, I think the key is to go beyond the obvious.
Yeah.
Like anyone can say, social media connects people. But what you need to do to stand out is really think about what's the impact,
Right.
the good and the bad.
Okay.
Think about how it's changed the way we talk to each other, but also, maybe the downsides like filter bubbles, echo chambers. Have you heard of those?
Yeah. So it's really showing them that you've thought deeply about it and you can kind of get into the nitty-gritty.
Exactly. And even your language. Like instead of just saying social media can be addictive, you could say something like, the constant dopamine hits from notifications can create a cycle of dependence. And that makes it really hard for people to control how much they're using it.
Wow, that sounds so much more insightful.
Right.
It's like using those power words to really level up your answer.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not about just randomly using big words. It's about doing it in a natural way to, strengthen your point.
So I'm seeing a theme here, depth over breadth.
Yes.
Specific examples, not just generalizations.
Yeah, I love it.
Showing them you're not just reciting something you memorize, but you're really thinking about it.
Yeah, you're engaged.
Yeah.
You're in the zone.
Okay, that leads us perfectly to our next topic, environment and climate change.
Oh, a big one.
Yeah, this one can be tricky because it's so complex.
Yeah.
But that also means it's a chance to show off how well you can analyze things.
Exactly.
So, okay, imagine the examiner asks you, what should governments do to combat climate change? What would a Band 8 plus answer sound like?
Okay, so think about it. A Band 7 answer might just give the generic things, like reduce emissions, promote renewable energy.
Yeah.
But to get to that higher level, you got to dig deeper.
So instead of just saying reduce emissions, what could you say?
Well, think about policies. Maybe something like governments could incentivize sustainable practices by giving tax breaks to businesses that are eco-friendly.
Okay.
Or they could implement carbon pricing to make sure corporations are responsible, for what they're doing to the environment.
That's so much more concrete.
Right.
It shows you really understand the issues.
And another thing.
Yeah.
Don't forget individual responsibility.
Oh, right.
You could talk about how important it is to encourage people to, live more sustainably, maybe through public awareness campaigns or educational programs.
That's such a good point.
Yeah.
And you're naturally weaving in those key words like sustainable consumption patterns.
There you go.
So it's not just jargon, you really get it.
Exactly. And see how we're connecting this to bigger ideas like what the government does, what companies do, and how we all have a role to play. It's about seeing the different angles of this complex problem.
Okay, so we've done 2 pretty heavy topics.
Yeah.
I'm ready for something a bit more personal. How about health and well-being?
Oh, yeah. This one's all about telling a good story and, connecting with the examiner on a human level.
Yeah.
Imagine you get a cue card and it says, describe a healthy habit you have.
Okay, well, I actually do yoga every day, so I'd probably talk about that.
Perfect.
But how do I turn that into a Band 8 plus answer?
Okay, well, first think about structure and details.
Oh, yeah.
Instead of just saying, I do yoga, paint a picture.
Okay.
Tell them what kind of yoga you do when you do it. Even describe the space you're in.
Okay.
So you could say something like, I do a sunrise vinyasa flow in my sun-drenched living room.
I love that.
Right.
It's like you're setting the scene.
Yeah, and then dive into the benefits, the physical and the mental ones.
Okay.
So don't just say yoga makes me feel good. You could say the combination of deep breathing and mindful movement helps me find inner peace and reduces my stress levels.
Okay, that's much better. It's not just stating facts, it's about the personal impact.
Exactly. And even with a personal topic like this, you can still use some sophisticated vocab. You can mention how yoga, enhances your flexibility or improves your cardiovascular health.
Right, so it's finding that sweet spot between sharing your story and showing off your language skills.
Exactly. And the big picture here is showing that you're a well-rounded communicator. You can talk about all sorts of things from global issues to personal stuff.
This is super helpful. I feel like I'm starting to crack the code of a Band 8+. What's next?
All right, let's jump into the world of education and learning.
Okay.
This one often pops up in part 3, where they really want you to analyze things and give your opinions.
Okay, so let's say the examiner says, what are the advantages and disadvantages of online learning compared to traditional classrooms?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah, how do we answer that without, falling into a trap?
Okay, this is where your critical thinking skills come in.
Right.
A high-scoring answer wouldn't just pick a side and argue for it.
Okay.
It would acknowledge the good things about both and present a balanced view.
So instead of just saying, online learning is better because it's more flexible?
Exactly. You have to go deeper. You could say, while online learning offers incredible flexibility and lets you learn at your own pace, it can also be lacking in those face-to-face interactions and hands-on learning that are so important for some subjects.
I like that. Shows you're considering both sides.
Right. And don't forget to back up what you're saying with examples.
Okay.
You could mention MOOCs, those massive open online courses.
Right.
That shows how popular and accessible online learning has become.
Yeah.
But then you can also talk about how crucial it is to have those traditional labs and workshops for things like science and engineering.
So it's like you're building a case, presenting evidence.
Yeah.
And trying to persuade the examiner to see your point of view.
You got it. And that brings us to our final topic for today, travel and tourism.
Oh, fun one.
Yeah, this one's a classic. It can come up in any part of the test.
Right.
From describing your dream vacation in part 1 to talking about a memorable trip you've taken in part 2.
Okay, so let's say the cue card says, describe a memorable trip you have taken. How do we make that a Band 8+ answer?
The key here is sensory details and those personal insights.
Okay.
Don't just list the places you went. Paint a picture with your words.
I like that.
Talk about the bustling markets of Marrakech.
Okay.
Or the tranquil beaches of Bali.
It's like you're taking the examiner on the trip with you.
Exactly. And don't forget about the impact it had on you. How did this trip change you? What did you learn about yourself or the world?
So instead of just saying, it was a great trip.
Right.
I could say, exploring the ancient ruins of Machu Picchu made me realize how powerful and resilient human civilization is. It inspired me to learn more about history.
Much better.
Yeah.
You're not just giving the surface details. You're talking about the emotions and what you took away from it.
Okay, I'm starting to get this.
Yeah.
It's all about depth, nuance, and really connecting with the examiner.
Exactly.
But there's still so much more to learn.
Oh yeah, we've only just scratched the surface. This guide is packed with even more tips and tricks to help you get that Band 8+.
Okay, I'm ready to dive into those bonus tips.
All right.
Let's take a quick break and we'll come back in part 2 to unlock the secrets to fluency confidence and how to avoid those dreaded memorized answers.
Sounds good.
All right, so those bonus tips you mentioned, I'm really curious.
Yeah, these are like the secret sauce that can really take your speaking to the next level, like the polish on a beautiful piece of furniture,
Okay, I'm hooked. Tell me more.
Well, first up, we've got sentence structure.
Okay.
It's not just about being grammatically correct. It's about mixing it up, using different types of sentences to create a nice rhythm and flow. Imagine someone talking in only simple sentences all the time.
Yeah, it would get boring.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So you got to mix it up, throw in some complex sentences, some conditional statements, relative clauses, all those good grammatical tools that show off your mastery of the language.
So instead of saying, I went to Paris, it was beautiful. I could say something like, having always dreamed of visiting Paris, I was captivated by its beauty from the moment I arrived.
Perfect. See how that sounds so much more sophisticated? And when you do it right, it doesn't sound forced at all.
Okay, sentence structure check. What's next in our arsenal of awesomeness?
Next up, we got to talk about avoiding memorization.
Ooh, yeah.
It can be so tempting, especially when you're nervous to just memorize a bunch of answers.
Yeah, I can see that backfiring, though.
Oh, yeah, big time.
If you forget a line or the examiner throws a curveball question.
Exactly. And the examiners, they can spot a memorized answer a mile away.
Really?
Oh, yeah, and it's going to hurt your score. They want to hear your genuine thoughts and ideas, not some rehearsed robot speech.
Okay, so no robots.
Yeah.
So how do we avoid that trap? What's the alternative to memorization?
Focus on building those speaking skills, not memorizing things word for word.
Okay.
Practice brainstorming ideas, quickly organizing your thoughts logically, and then expressing yourself clearly and concisely.
So it's like building up those mental muscles so you can handle anything.
Precisely. Think of it like improv in music. You don't memorize every note. You learn the scales, the chords, the techniques, and then you can create in the moment.
That's a great analogy. So it's about having a strong foundation of knowledge and skills so you can speak confidently and off the cuff. Okay, what else can we do to achieve that fluency and confidence?
Well, one powerful technique is paraphrasing.
Okay.
And it's more than just using synonyms. It's about showing that you understand the question and then putting it into your own words.
So if the examiner asks, what are the benefits of learning a new language?
Yeah.
I could start my answer by saying, there are numerous advantages to expanding your linguistic horizons.
Perfect. That shows the examiner you're not just repeating something you memorized, you're actually thinking about the question and coming up with your own response. And it's a great way to show off your vocabulary.
Okay, paraphrasing check. It's like adding those extra layers of sophistication to your language. What else is there?
All right, another key to getting a band 8+ is expanding your answers. Don't just give short one-sentence responses. Go deeper. Provide context, give examples, explain things, really flesh out your ideas.
So instead of saying, I like to travel because it's fun.
Yeah.
I could say travel is one of my greatest passions because it allows me to immerse myself in new cultures, broaden my perspective, and create lifelong memories.
Exactly. You're painting a picture with your words, you're engaging the examiner, and you're leaving them wanting more.
Okay, expand the answers, check.
Yeah.
But all this talk about fluency and confidence is making me realize something. It's one thing to know these techniques, but it's another thing to actually do them under pressure.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So how do we practice effectively? Any tips?
One of the best things you can do is find a speaking partner or a tutor who can kind of simulate the exam environment, have them ask you IELTS-style questions and give you feedback on how you're doing.
So it's like doing those mock exams to get used to the format and the pressure. What else can we do?
Another great strategy is to record yourself answering IELTS questions and then listen back. Pay attention to your fluency, your vocabulary, your pronunciation, even your body language.
Ooh, that's a good idea. It's like watching game film to analyze your performance.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to experiment. Try using different sentence structures, throwing in new vocabulary, changing your tone of voice. See what works for you.
It's like trying on different outfits to find the one that makes you feel confident and comfortable.
Love that analogy because ultimately confidence is key. When you believe in yourself, it shows in your voice, your body language, your whole performance.
So it's not just about the technical stuff, it's about that inner confidence that shines through. But how do we build that confidence if we're feeling nervous or unsure of ourselves?
Visualization is a really powerful tool.
Okay.
Imagine yourself walking into the exam room feeling calm and collected.
Yeah.
Picture yourself answering those questions fluently and confidently, blowing the examiner away with your knowledge and your eloquence.
So it's like mentally rehearsing for a big performance, so when the real thing comes, you're ready.
Yeah, exactly. And remember, the examiners are human too. They want you to do well. They're not trying to trick you or make you feel bad.
So it's okay to be a little nervous, to make a few mistakes, even to ask for clarification if you don't understand something.
Absolutely. The important thing is to stay calm, focus on getting your ideas across, and show them that you're a capable communicator.
Okay. I'm feeling much more confident already. I think we've covered pretty much everything in terms of those bonus tips. Anything else we should know before we move on? Okay, wow, I am feeling so much more prepared to tackle this IELTS speaking test.
I'm glad.
We've covered so much,
Yeah.
from those 5 key topics to all those awesome bonus tips.
It's amazing what we've managed to pack in, right?
It really is.
And I think the biggest takeaway is that you have the power to shape your IELTS experience. You're not just a passive test taker.
That's such a good point. It's not about luck or just memorizing things. It's about developing those skills, those strategies that will help you really stand out.
Exactly. Remember at the beginning we were talking about the IELTS being like the linguistic Olympics? Yeah.
You wouldn't expect an athlete to just show up and win a gold medal without putting in the work?
Right. It takes effort, practice, and that belief in yourself. So what's the best way to put all this into practice? Where do we go from here?
Well, first I would say go back to those 5 key topics we talked about.
Okay.
Think about which ones you feel most comfortable with and which ones, maybe make you a little nervous.
And then I bet I know what you're going to say.
Practice, practice, practice.
Yeah.
But not just any practice. It's got to be smart practice.
Oh, okay. Tell me more about the smart practice. What does that look like?
It means being strategic and focused.
Okay.
Pick a topic that you find challenging and really dive into it.
Okay.
Brainstorm ideas, research vocabulary practice, structuring your responses using all those techniques we talked about.
So for instance, if I'm really struggling with the environment and climate change topic, I could research like specific policies or initiatives that governments are doing. Exactly. And then try weaving those examples into your answers.
Yeah.
Experiment with different sentence structures, try paraphrasing, and really focus on communicating your ideas clearly and concisely.
It's like we've gathered all these tools and now we get to build something amazing with them.
I like that. And remember, it's not about being perfect. It's about making progress. Don't get discouraged if you stumble or make mistakes.
Yeah, those are actually opportunities to learn and grow, right?
Absolutely. Every time you practice, you're honing your skills, building confidence, and getting one step closer to your IELTS goals.
This has honestly been such an eye-opening experience. I feel like I've gone from feeling totally overwhelmed to feeling like I can actually do this.
That's fantastic to hear. And that's what we want you to feel. The IELTS speaking test can seem scary, but it doesn't have to be.
Right. It's about breaking it down, learning the strategies, and most importantly, believing in yourself.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, we want to leave you with one final thought.
Ooh, I love a good takeaway message.
Remember that learning a language is a journey, not a destination. Embrace the challenges, celebrate the victories, and never stop exploring this amazing world of English.
That's beautiful. Well, we're so glad you joined us on this deep dive. Keep practicing, keep learning, and we'll see you next time for another adventure in language learning.